My first place may surprise with a few breaches looking to hit. That's all I'm saying.
There's going to be an enormous points deduction. We'll finish bottom of the league.
No, you're lying, Thogdad. Welcome back for the biggest video of the year. The Premier League 24-25 season is quickly approaching, so we need to do our predictions, don't we, Dad?
We do, but I've forgotten what to do, Theo.
Well, I'll remind you, you set a like target, and last year we got 33,000 likes, so go on.
Aim higher, Theo, 35,000.
But what's the reason to do it? Maybe your team will survive or win the league. We're bringing good luck on this video, aren't we?
We certainly are, Theo, and let's get straight into it with Arsenal, Theo. Mikel Arteta. The last year of his contract. They were runners-up last year. The transfer business so far, not much. David Raya's come in on a permanent. There are some rumours though, aren't there, Theo?
There are, and we're doing this predictions video very early, which is why Calafiori, whilst recording this video, hasn't been yet confirmed. The Italian centre-back with long hair. People loved him at the Euros. Did you enjoy his time? I mean, I've not watched him for Bologna, but they qualified for Champions League football.
He is a quality player. He's the sort of player you need to bring in. Now, the Arsenal squad for me is very good. It's not quite excellent, but there's one area they miss out on. World-class centre forward. They don't have one.
And they don't. And if they want to have better scenes at the end of the season, unlike the sadness of the final day where Manchester City did it again, they need to bring in a big forward. Gabriel Jesus did score in his pre-season, but with Nketiah leaving for around 45 million, that could potentially give some transfer budget to bring in that one player who's going to change their season. Nonetheless, though, they've kept all the key players. Arteta still believes, but it's going to be hard to get past that Manchester City. So what's your prediction?
My prediction is Opera.
People are always asking me how my editor and I are so efficient at posting videos after matches. Let me tell you about our little secret called Opera. It's a desktop browser that simply made our life more simple and increasing productivity when working on a laptop. It's faster, safer, and smarter than your usual browser, but the features is what's a real winner for me. For example, I'm obsessed with Aria. It's a sidebar that gives you easy access to AI chat, and you can speak to Aria about anything. From real-time information to translations, it's so clutch for us. But the workspace feature, I love it because I'm a culprit of having loads of tabs open, but it creates tab islands, so I'm able to not get lost in the mess of what I can create, but instead I can locate exactly what I'm looking for. Now, when I'm on the move and I don't have access to charge, I've had a lifesaver in Opry's battery saver, which you can activate in just one click. But most of all, my favorite feature of them all is lucid mode, right? Because if you're watching my YouTube video in 480p, let's say your Wi-Fi's bad, or you're on the move, turn on lucid mode, right? And it sharpens your screen. It genuinely increases the quality. And the Wi-Fi stays the same. I don't know anyone else doing this from a desktop browser, but opera.com is the place to go. You can use the first link in my description or the pinned comment. Join me on this journey. It's top class.
Aria, help me with this, Theo.
No way.
Second place.
I like that. Using tools. Thogdad's getting clever with it. Go download it. My prediction for Arsenal is second place. But don't think this video is done yet, because my first place may surprise with a few breaches looking to hit. That's all I'm saying.
Aston Villa now and Unai Emery overachieved last season. They got fourth place, but that means Champions League football. Is that a good thing? Will that affect the squad?
It will definitely affect the squad. Look what happened to Newcastle. When you have the UCL nights, it means your players get tired. You need a thick squad depth, and let's just say they've invested more than anyone else. Unai Emery and his board have had a lot of fun. Let's begin with Ian Maatsen. The man just played in a Champions League final, and they bought him off Chelsea for about £37 million. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it brings you quality. You like his signing?
I like that, Theo, and they brought in Onana, haven't they, from Everton? That's a loss for Everton.
It's a loss for Everton, but it's a big gain for Villa, because you're not only doing it against a competitor, but he's also a top player. They didn't get him cheaply, though, 45 million. And that signing happened because they lost Douglas Luiz, didn't they, Dad, to Juventus?
Well, they've also lost Moussa Diaby, and those two worry me. Those are two strong players.
Well, let's not rush things here, Dad. The Juventus deal was interesting because whilst they lost Douglas Luiz, they gained Samuel Illing Jr., a very exciting English winger who's been playing at Juve. And you guys know if you play Football Manager, he goes right to the very top. Another man who does that is Hull City's Jadon Philogene. I met Hull fan out on the England tour in Germany, and he was raving about this guy. He was telling me he's going to Barcelona, and I'm sure that man knows who he's talking about. The Barca deal did break down, but it was a bonus for Aston Villa. So
this year's going to be tough with the Champions League. Because of all of that, I'm going to annoy a few Villa fans. 9th place.
Well, Dad, 9th place is a massive drop-off. That's -5.
Yes.
And they've just gained Champions League football, so maybe that's your reasoning. I understand.
That's the reasoning.
Now, I think your 9th place may be changed, Dad, if João Felix signs for the boys in Birmingham. They've got a bigger squad. That's what they needed for the Champions League. I think a little drop-off, but enough to, I think, still have a good season. 7th place.
AFC Bournemouth now. They were 12th last season, Theo, and they brought in Sinistera from Leeds United. That's a loss to Yorkshire, isn't it?
It is, but they had him last year and he was decent. I don't think Bournemouth have done much business at all. The only player which isn't actually confirmed during the filming of this video is a Juventus centre-back. I believe he's 19 years old. He's from the Netherlands and his name is Dean Huijsen. Now, I haven't seen anything of him. Now, if that works out for Bournemouth, that could be big profit and a good player for the Premier League.
Yes, now Bournemouth are one of these teams who can lose 5 in a row and then win 5 in a row. Really hard to call. They have to make their home ground a fortress, don't they?
They do. I think Iriola's biggest target in the summer was not a player to sign, it was a player to keep. Dominic Solanke. Congratulations, you've kept him. And by the way, the rest of the squad around him that has been doing really well has all stayed. And that's why I think Bournemouth are going to have another strong year in the Premier League. There's going to be no talk of relegation. There's going to be no thought of it. 13th.
Do you know what? They've got to get off to a good start, and you're right, Theo. The objective has got to be never be in a relegation fight. But they're one of those teams, if they start badly, they could be sucked down there. But overall, 14th. Brentford now, and last season they were 16th, Theo, but this is a team who should be nowhere near a relegation fight, isn't it?
Nowhere near, and they haven't done much business, but their best bit, you know, it's funny, we just spoke about the Cherries keeping Solanke. Well, Brentford have kept Ivan Toney, and we don't need to just speak about it. We're at the Euros, we saw his amazing moment in the penalty shootout, also making a difference with the assist in the last minute to get us through the next round. He's an amazing player in big moments, and if Brentford keep him, I can see them not worrying about relegation, not worrying about a battle either. And it's not just that, Dad, it's keeping players like Vitaly Janelt, the captain Norgard, Jensen and Buemo. I mean, the whole starting 11, Dad, has stayed under Thomas Frank, and I think it's great because they can build in pre-season and only become stronger with chemistry, and a lot of other Premier League teams can't say the same.
That is true. Now, they're very good at recruitment, aren't they?
They are.
Brentford. They brought in a guy called Igor Thiago from Bruges. I think they paid 33 million euros for him. He's a centre-forward, a young Brazilian.
When that happened initially, I thought Ivan Toney was gone.
Yes.
When you sign a striker who's done well in Belgium, 191 centimetres, big lad, clearly Brentford see something in him. Having both Toney and Igor battling it out for that striker partnership or position, you're going to have an interesting battle there. They're going to be giving goals. I can see it. I think Brentford will be comfortably 15th in the Premier League next year.
Do you know what? I don't think they'll accept that. I think that's very pessimistic. Based upon the setup at Brentford, it's very good. 11th place.
Where did they finish last year, Dad?
I'm going to be closer on this one than you. And remember, Toney can play for the whole season.
And there's a long time left in the summer for him to go elsewhere. So don't speak too soon.
Brighton and Hove Albion were 11th last season, but they brought in a new gaffer and a couple of new players. And we met the owner, didn't we, out in Germany?
We did. Nice guy. Clearly has a plan. He knew exactly why England wouldn't win the Euros. Now, Brighton have been left in a bit of a mess by Roberto De Zerbi, who went to Marseille. But the foundations are there, and the quality certainly is too. I think we could see a new Ferguson. We could see a new Matoma. The boys with the ability that we've seen at moments, but never sustained. That mixed in with their new signings. Do you want to mention who they are?
I do. The young lad Minter has come in, Theo. Now, he's a Gambian international, I believe. Very young. He's come in from Newcastle. So he's not really had much of a chance to shine. But it's going to be interesting to see him.
You're buying him off a competitor. He did well at Feyenoord, but he's not the only one who was at Feyenoord last year from their signings, is there, Dad? Who's the other guy?
Well, they brought in Mats Weifer, Theo, from Feyenoord. 30 million euros. He's a defensive midfielder. What do you think of him?
I think that's very clever when you bring in two big signings that played for the same club at the previous year. So they already have that connection. Fabian Herzerler, he's 31 years old. He could play there. He could play for them. But clearly, there is intention by the owner. There is belief that they will bring this around, and I think they will. They're going to jump back to 9th place.
Wow, that's a big shout. Certainly this is a team that must be pushing for the European places, and there's no reason why they can't be the Aston Villa of this season. But I'm going to be more conservative with my prediction. 8th place. And now for Chelsea, Theo. This is a really interesting one because last season they were 6th place, which isn't very good, but they won the last 5 games. They've got the youngest squad in the league. They've got one of the largest squads in the league.
Have they now got the most expensive squad in the league?
No, they haven't. I think it's number 3 behind Arsenal and Man City.
Okay.
But very young, and we know the likes of the Cole Palmers of this world, don't we? There's some very good players in there.
They've done a lot of business, and they seem to be doing more. So let's go through a few of the signings. They've got Tosin Adarabioyo, the centre-back from Fulham. Didn't have to travel too far for that. But another one, Leicester City got promoted, and their main man, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, has moved on. He's got his big move, but it makes me think that Conor Gallagher's going to go.
I hope he doesn't, Theo. But what they've done, Theo, they brought in 100 million euros from selling Ian Martson, Lewis Hall, and Omari Hutchinson. I think that's very good business. I still think that the squad is too big, so I'd like them to get rid of 6, 7, 8, 9 players, Theo, and focus on who are going to be the key 11. Now, of course, last season they were unlucky with injuries. There was the change in the ownership, that didn't help anybody. Chelsea can win this league, Theo.
What?
Chelsea can win this league this year.
What?
It probably won't happen, but I nearly predicted it as a bit of a something to get clipped.
Yeah, that's amazing that you've even said that on this video, because based on their pre-season, the lack of chemistry, that does change though. They're on the US tour, it hasn't worked out, they lost to Celtic, they drew to Wrexham, but they have a great squad, don't they?
But I think they're going to get Champions League football 4th place.
That's interesting, because they're playing Conference League football, and last year, that was their best effort without any European distraction. Now they've got it, so if anything, they should be more effective. Enzo Maresca, how long will he last? Because if games start going wrong, we know that they're trigger happy.
Yeah.
That's also a worry. Plus a massive squad depth. They had a very difficult pre-season with Enzo Fernandez falling out with a few of the players. We know about that. We're not going to go into detail, but this could either go really well or really bad. There's so much to talk about here. I'm just going to go to my prediction. 5th place.
Wow.
I think they miss out on top 4. And maybe they win a cup. Maybe they go on a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup run. I have a feeling.
What we need at this club is stability. Stability of ownership, stability of manager, stability of players. When that happens, Chelsea can win the league. Crystal Palace now, Theo, and they had a great end to last season under Oliver Glasner. They finished 10th, but Michael Olise is on his way out.
To Bayern Munich, and they've made 50 million for that, which is great. But is Oliver Glasner's honeymoon period over? Eze, Olise, it was magic together. Them two just smashed it. It could be at some point both of them leave the club. I think they'll have Eze for 1 more year. They're going to enjoy it before they cash in and make more money and hopefully invest in youth and really bring the best out the future of this club. They've brought in Daichi Kamada, which is an interesting signing. He didn't do so well at Lazio. Time to give him a new go. Was very good at Frankfurt. Remember, he did win them a European competition. They were one of the best endings to the Premier League season last year. Can they keep this up?
No, Theo, because of losing Olise. That
Makes
is
sense.
enormous. Now, Kamada, I've always liked that guy. I think he can rejuvenate himself at this club. But Crystal Palace is a well-run organisation, I believe, at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's no way they should be in a relegation fight.
I can't see it.
And I'm just going to go 12th place.
There are surprisingly small odds. You know, they've slashed on them on potentially being in a relegation battle. You've lost 1 player.
Yeah.
It isn't won by just 1 man. I know Michael Olise is very special, but there's a lot of hard-working lads. Mateta, oh my God, what a striker he turned into.
Yeah.
They've got him next year. Let's talk about him. Let's respect him. And what can Daichi Kamada add? Well, he can add creativity that they may have not had last year in other ways. If he can click with Eze, there could be a real force to be reckoned with. I'm going to put Crystal Palace 11th.
Everton now, they were 15th last season, but without that points deduction, Theo, they were 12th. And I tell you why, Sean Dyche, one of the best managers in the league. But you look at the resources he's got, and it's wearing a bit thin, isn't it?
Well, they brought in Iliman and Dye, who did very well at Sheffield United to get promoted. That's a player that they've been linked with for ages, and they finally got him. But have they got him on the downfall? It didn't seem that he was amazing at Marseille.
You're talking about a championship player. I'm
not
sorry.
sure. I think he's too good for the championship.
He didn't do much at Marseille. They are not crying that he's gone. I know that for a fact.
And I think there's going to be no talk of relegation for them, no problems. But I do think they'll be in that lower mid-table stretch.
And I agree. Now, last season, I predicted that they would be relegated. They came very close. I do think the squad needs money spending on it. I think because of Sean Dyche, they'll stay up in 15th place.
I've got them 14th, a little bit higher.
Over to London now for Fulham, Theo, who were 13th last season. Now, they've got the joint oldest squad in the league. Do you know who else has got the oldest squad in the league?
Ooh, I'm going to go someone who's just got promoted then.
No, you'd be wrong.
Oh,
West
I don't know.
Ham.
West Ham.
Yeah, but anyway, back to Fulham, Theo. There's a big loss, isn't there? One of the guys they're selling.
João Paulinho to Bayern Munich. Bayern are buying all the up-and-coming players from the up-and-coming clubs. It sucks for the Premier League, to be honest.
Yeah, and
because who are we going to look at in this Fulham team now? I know they've still got their big striker who gets me all those FPL points. I worry for Fulham. I do. How can you replace a midfielder that good? You can't replace. He's irreplaceable. I hope to see a player that comes in and does a job, but I'm a little worried.
I'm very worried, Theo. Because of that, I think they're going to be in a relegation fight. You look in the other direction. Sessegnon is coming in from Tottenham.
But one thing Fulham made sure they did, which is the little positive. You know, sometimes in life you've got to look a little positive in a bunch of negatives. And that is that they didn't sell to a competitor. They didn't do what Everton did.
I'm very worried for Fulham. I think it could go right down to the wire. Their squad is not big enough on the
What
home
about
turf.
Emil Smith-Rowe? Interesting. think? Could we see a new life to him in the Premier League going over to West London? Because I think that would be a great move.
That would be incredible for him and for Fulham. But until we see that happen, 16th place.
Yeah, I've got them a bit higher, Dad. I'm banking on them reinvesting that cash from Zhao on a new holding midfielder. And if they do that, I can see them finishing in 12th place.
Ipswich Town now, and what a manager they've got in Kieran McKenna. This is a team who 2 years ago were playing Bolton Wanderers.
Yeah,
they got promoted. They got promoted again. That tasted like promotion, according to some singer or other.
I know, that guy, he loved the Euros as much as us, he did.
He did, but Theo, surely this is a step too far.
I think it is. Their investment, they've kept Amari Hutchinson. What a year he had in the Championship last year. We actually spoke to one of the Ipswich fans out in Germany, and he was making sure that I know that in my predictions, I've got to put them in a safe spot. Brought in Liam Delap, who was at Hull City last year. Wasn't the best player in the Championship by any means. They've kept most of the squad, and if there's anyone that's going to work a miracle, it's Kieran McKenna.
Yes.
He came from Manchester United staff. He brought them from League One to this spot. Is it a step too far now? How far can they go?
Well, I'll tell you what, they've spent 73 million euros on 4 players. They're gonna splash some more cash.
They have to.
Sometimes that can be a bad thing if it bankrupts the club, but there's a lot of guesswork.
The
Now,
important thing is they didn't lose key players like Leicester did.
yes.
They've kept their best, and they can only build on that.
Yes, but a team that is runners-up in the Championship probably has 5 or 6 players that are good enough for the Premier League. So you've got to bring in at least 8, 9 new players.
And then hope that they link together.
Yes.
It's going to be tough. Can we see them survive? I think no. I'm putting them in 19th place. They need to make Portman Road an absolute fortress if they have any means of surviving, but I'm sorry. I'm putting you 19th place.
Well, Theo, survival in the Premier League for a team like Ipswich, you've got to look, can we win 9 or 10 games? 8 or 9 of them will probably realistically be at Portman Road. I think it's a step too far. 20th place.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Leicester City now, last season they won the Championship. 8 years ago they won the Premier League, Theo. They've got Steve Cooper in charge. He's a good gaffer, but can they stay up?
We're talking about another team that's been promoted. They smashed it last year, don't get me wrong. Won the league, ran the show, absolutely loved it. But the problem is, they lost their manager.
Yeah.
They lost Enzo Maresca, the man that they brought in that had the Pep Guardiola history. Okay, Chelsea poached him. I don't know if Steve Cooper is even convinced himself that he can keep up. But not only did they lose their manager, Dad, to lose their best midfielder, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, he shone last year.
And the other thing that worries me, Jamie Vardy, we're still talking about him, but he's going to be 38 years old in January.
It's madness.
Too old, Theo.
But great for the dressing room, though. Like, talk about experience, talk about miracles. He was tipped to get relegated the year they won the Premier League. So when I'm putting Leicester City 20th, I'm sorry, I just don't see enough quality in the squad.
You're putting Leicester City 20th.
Absolutely, I'm sorry.
But there's a little bit of the survival instinct in Leicester.
I know. They've got history. There is DNA. But if we're going off DNA with that squad, there's not much to go for.
18th place. I agree that they're going to get relegated.
We're not shaking on the place, we're shaking on relegation. I'm sorry, Leicester fans. Prove us wrong.
Liverpool now, they were 3rd last season, but they had Jurgen Klopp then. There's a new character called Arnie Slot, who sounds like a character from The Simpsons. A year of transition, Theo. Mo Salah seems to be staying, doesn't he?
A year of transition without making any signings. It's interesting. Arne Slot has not brought in a single player. The aim for Arne Slot is still to win the league, isn't it?
Of course, and Liverpool are capable of winning the league. When they're on form, Theo, that forward line is superb. I think it's almost the best in the whole of the Premier League.
Could we see a 30-goal season from Mo Salah?
No.
The football is attacking. We know what Arne Slot did at Feyenoord. He surprised everyone winning the league there. And I can guarantee that he will get a lot of chances. If the tactics work. You know, in one of the pre-season games, I think Szoboszlai scored. He's already loving it, and he was busy at the Euros. I think Liverpool might be building something.
I think so too, Theo, but I think there are 3 or 4 signings that need to be made over the next couple of years. So a lot of key players are getting older. Mo Salah might be tempted by Saudi Arabia or somewhere else. Virgil van Dijk's getting a bit older. Andrew Robertson is injury prone.
They need to bring in younger talent around the squad. And I think they're one big move away from this summer starting. But right now, with that current squad, it's too much to ask. They got rid of a lot of deadwood. Matip, Thiago, finally those boys are out. I am excited for Conor Bradley next year, the Bolton boy.
Yeah.
You know, I really felt like we kickstarted his career.
Yes, we did.
And I know we obviously keep in touch, so he's a great man, and I think he's going to have a great season. I think they'll remain in the top 4 and keep 3rd spot.
Do you know what, Theo? Liverpool are capable of winning the the league. They're capable of going a long way in the Champions League. And if they're top of the pile in December, it will not surprise me one iota. But I just think they're missing something.
They are.
And having a new manager is difficult because Jurgen Klopp was superb.
He's irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
They've done great getting on Slot. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be both styles is attacking, high pressing. It's similar, but you can't ever say anything's near to Jurgen Klopp. He was a hero for the Premier League. A lot is changing. What's your position?
Third place.
We agree.
And now for Manchester City. They won the title last year. I think they've won it 4 of the last 5 years.
Yep.
They got the treble last year, didn't they, Theo?
Dominance, pure dominance. Let's not beat around the bush.
They've got the most expensive squad in the league. They've got Erling Haaland, but I tell you something that's going to stop them winning the title this year. It's the back office. It's what's going on involving lawyers and court cases. And because of all that, there's going to be an enormous points deduction. Man City will finish bottom of the league.
No. You're lying, Thogdad.
And it's nothing to do with on the field. There are, over 100 charges facing them. I'm guessing, of course, I've got no insight.
I can't believe you just said that.
So what do you think?
I mean, you've got to look at the facts. 100 and something, 150, whatever the number is, it's a lot. And one day we could wake up on court day and they get hit with a points deduction so big that doesn't just send them down to the Championship. They might go down to League One. Who knows? But will that day come this season? That's the question. The funny thing is, if you look at odds on relegation, you get more money back if West Ham get relegated than Manchester City. Can we just take a second to think about that? I think that is insane. 17-1 for Man City to go down. That doesn't make sense. So maybe we will wake up one day and they're already relegated. All the game's pointless. De Bruyne is already thinking about Etihad. Ederson might leave as well.
Kevin De Bruyne was on the point of going to Saudi Arabia. And if he'd gone already, Theo, I would not put Man City top because you suddenly lose your talisman. You lose 20 assists and 10 goals.
Absolutely.
And one of the world's most incredible players. He is irreplaceable. But as of today, he's still there. So let's talk about, not about the law, let's talk about on the pitch. You've got a brilliant squad.
Great squad.
Savinho's come in. He's not going to be a regular, is he?
No, he's not, but it's a very good signing, let's be honest. De Bruyne got 19 goals/assists in 37 games in La Liga, helped them do so well. They nearly won the league until Real Madrid came again. I think there's 2 outcomes, Dad. The most likely is first place.
Yes.
And the second most likely position in the table is 20. That's how it is.
We're in an incredible position.
It's a weird time.
What I'm going to do, for the sake of this video, I'm going to forget what's going on behind the scenes.
You're changing your prediction.
Because financial fair play, to me, it's all nonsense. You should do away with it, but that's a separate video. Manchester City have got Erling Haaland.
They do.
As of today, they've got Kevin De Bruyne.
As of today, Ederson.
And Bernardo. And Rodri. They've got Rodri.
Oh, don't bring up Rodri.
Every single position is a quality player. Man City win the league.
And they've got John Stones. I love John Stones. Let's give him more respect.
First place.
We agree.
Manchester United Football Club were 8th last season, Theo. What's going to happen this season?
I don't know. It's tough, right? Because they've lost Raphael Varane. They've got rid of some deadwood. Mason Mount, could we see a rebirth of him? Could this be his moment? I don't know. Manchester United have signed Lenny Yoro, an 18-year-old centre-back, for a lot of cash, over 50 million. They've got a whole new board of directors that are really thinking about who they're buying.
Yeah.
They've got Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna. Are these players going to gel, though, into the tactics of the current squad?
Well, we'll find out in a few weeks, Theo, but I think they're doing the right thing. They're spending good money on young players.
Yeah, they are.
Theo.
I like that.
It's a risk, and you look back over the last 10, 20 years, and even in Sir Alex's time, they got things spectacularly wrong.
Believing in Ten Hag can go 2 ways.
Yes.
Because we know how toxic that fan base is. The answer isn't just replacing him again, but there could be a way. There could be a tactic. There could be a team there that just surprises. The aim should be top 4. It's not about winning the league. No Manchester United fan should think they're going to win the Premier League. Because if you do, you're crazy. With the current squad, no way.
Do you know what? For me, Theo, last season they lost too many games. On their day, they get battered by the likes of a Brighton. They are 3, 4, 5 years away from being a proper Champions League club. They're going to finish 6th.
I agree, Dad. 6th place. And I'm sorry, Manchester United fans.
Newcastle United were 7th last season. Now Eddie Howe, great manager, but linked with the England job, Theo.
I don't think he'll take it. I can see him staying at Newcastle United. I strongly believe that. And my prediction goes out the window if he leaves, I'll be honest. It's a very interesting year for the Geordies. They've sold 2 players and made 60 million.
That is very good business, Theo.
Now, they haven't really brought anyone in. There are talks of maybe Anthony Gordon leaving, and I don't think they'll allow any bid, especially if Liverpool direct competitor. The money has to be crazy for that to be accepted. But when I look at that squad and the quality that it has, they've kept all their big boys. No one is left. Now, the important player that returns for this squad is Sandro Tonali.
Yes.
He's back.
That is a very good point, Theo. Now, I might be slightly wrong with this. I've gone 7th because I look at the squad and they've not done too much to it.
Bruno Guimaraes hasn't left yet.
He
And
hasn't.
that is also pivotal. I think they're focused more on the business side right now. They know their squad is good enough. They had European distraction last year with Champions League. They're in the group of death. They went here, where, everywhere, and they nearly got out of it too. And they finished 7th, which was decent. Now, without any European football at all, I can see them going for Champions League. Ooh. Top 4 finish. I believe in Eddie Howe. I think he'll stay 4th place.
No way,
Yeah.
Theo. Oh my god.
Probably my biggest call of the video.
Clip that. That was an enormous call.
Sandro Tonali's back. Ole, ole.
Nottingham Forest now, they were 17th last season, but there was a comfortable gap between them and 18th place. You've got Nuno Espirito Santo at the helm. Will they be safe?
They've now adapted more chemistry between the squad. They survived. That was the aim. Can they do it again?
Well, Elliot Anderson, you just mentioned him. He's come in from Newcastle.
Of course,
There
yeah.
has been a flurry of activity. I get the feeling
Elliot
that
Anderson,
the
on his
Nottingham
day.
Forest gaffer likes to do business.
I do like the signing of Elliot Anderson. It's for a lot of cash, but it's against a competitor. And when he did play for Newcastle, he was a spark. Now, they've also got Nikola Milenkovic from Fiorentina. He was a beast at the back. Serbians call him the new Vidic. You know, and to get him for only 16 million as well is a good price. So I'm excited. They haven't lost any of their regulars. I can see them surviving. 17th place. It will be close.
Do you know what? I'm going for survival just 17th. Southampton now, they came up through the playoffs, didn't they? They beat Leeds United.
Yes.
You were at that game.
I know.
Makes it hard for them to survive, though, doesn't
I know,
it?
I was at that game, of course. Playoffs, you win that match, you get a massive influx of cash, and maybe they're going to invest more of it. But they did lose Che Adams to Torino, which was interesting. I thought they would have liked to keep him next to Adam Armstrong in the Premier League, but I guess he had other priorities, and sometimes it works like that. Russell Martin has a tough job to keep them, doesn't he? Because we have one spot left in this relegation, and we've only got a few teams left. Could they be the team we're going to mention for both of us to put down and agree on all 3 promoted teams going back down?
Well, I think the bookies would go along with that, Theo. Now, they have spent 55 million euros on 5 players. The key ones, Taylor Harwood-Bellis and Flynn Downs.
It's nice to see Flynn Downs stay at the club after
Yes.
doing a lot for them last year. I'm going to say them to get the most points out of the promoted teams, but still get relegated. 18th position.
And I'm going 19th. I'm sorry, Southampton, you're going down. Tottenham Hotspur now, Theo. They were 5th last season, but listen to the players who are going out the door. Højbjerg, Eric Dyer, Joe Rodon, Ryan Sessegnon, and Ndombele. Theo, does that
top
worry
players.
you?
No, it doesn't, because there's no top players there. They don't need a squad as big as Aston Villa. They need their best players, and they kept them. They've got rid of a lot there, don't get me wrong, but I can't see him being the future of that club. Do you know who is the future? Archie Gray.
Archie Gray.
The midfielder, he could also play at fullback. He's versatile, he's flexible, and that man is a big future. I think he can even get in the England squad at some point. He's young, he's talented, and Tottenham have got their hands on him.
And I'm sure of that. He's 18 years old, and anyone my age knows that he's the grandson of Frank Gray, who was a Leeds legend. So that's a good signing. You could argue Spurs have not done enough yet.
Yeah, I look across this Tottenham squad, I don't think it's that good. I do worry. Archie Gray is their only bit of business.
Yeah.
They still haven't properly replaced Harry Kane, let's be honest.
True.
Heung-min Son, Richarlison, okay, they were both good. I mean, Son is always good, don't get me wrong, but we need him to get back to his best, and we need a player next to him to bring that out of him.
Yes.
That's what Harry did. Ange as a manager, yeah, they'll play attacking football, they'll probably concede a lot.
Do you know what? Overall, Theo, I don't think they're top 4 material.
They're not.
5th place.
I've got them 8th. And their only benefit, I would say, their biggest positive is that they can focus on Premier League football, whilst Villa will be running riot in Champions League nights.
8th place.
Yeah.
Arsenal fans are loving you right now. West Ham United of London were 9th last season. They've got a new manager in Lopetegui, Theo. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's someone who's going to finally give them probably more attacking football. West Ham fans will be, they'll be thankful. David Moyes, he won them a European trophy.
Yeah.
He always kept them pretty solid and probably got more hate than he deserves. With Lopetegui, it's that new bright spark. The Spanish manager will go out there. He's already signed a 18-year-old wonder kid from Palmeiras called Luis Guilherme. Who knows what he'll do, but definitely good for the squad. And of course, the main signing. You've weakened Wolves and you've brought in a great centre-back.
Yeah.
Maximilian Kilman, once a futsal star, and now smashing it in the Premier League. He wasn't cheap, but he was once rumoured with Napoli, and they turned him down.
What an incredible story. He was in non-league, wasn't he, a few years ago? That is amazing. But overall, Theo, when you bring in a new manager with a different style, is that a bit of a risk? Could it go the wrong way?
The aim should be Conference League. I think they'll drop a little bit from that. There's no real... I mean, Jared Bowen is great, and it's good that they kept him, but no one stands out to me in this squad yet. That makes me think they'll go and get that 7th or maybe go on a cup run just yet. I'm going to put them 10th.
And I'm going to shake your hand, 10th place. And finally, Wolverhampton Wanderers, 14th last season. I can tell you, some of their fans are a little bit nervous here.
They are, because they've brought in Gomez and Lima. I've never heard of them either. Tommy Doyle, but no one else. And of course, they've lost their key centre-back, Max Kilman, who we just spoke about, how it was great business for West Ham on the other end. It absolutely hurts Wolves. I don't know what's going to happen. Gary O'Neill has a plan. And I really like that manager.
Yeah.
Only a few years ago, he was working for us as a Bolton player through very tough financial times and worked his arse off. And I know on the training ground that man could work some magic like he did in previous years.
You know what? I think Wolves have to make 2 or 3 transfers in the next couple of weeks.
I think they're going to survive.
Do you know what? Yes, over 38 games, I think they'll be comfortable 13th place.
I've got them 16th. It's going to be a little bit closer than what you imagined, Dad. That's it from us, but comment down below your thoughts. Who's getting relegated? And also winning? Are we crazy? We're just a few mugs. And remember, go download Opera, the best browser in the game right now. Thank you, Aria, for all the help too. See you in a bit. Bye.